If you learn JavaScript with these 4 simple steps, you're going to be ahead of 99% of other beginners. You're going to develop proficiency much quicker, and you're going to enjoy the process a lot more. So in this video, I'm going to take the last 8 years of combined experience teaching and programming in JavaScript, and I'm going to try to condense it into a 4-step process for getting started with learning JavaScript. I was previously a technical mentor at Hack Reactor and taught this process to over 300 students. I also used this process myself for learning how to code, broke into industry, and got a job at tech companies like Google and Sony. Let's dive in. So the first thing we need to talk about is whether you're actually prepared to learn how to code. So coding requires a great amount of uninterrupted attention. You need to be focused, which means you need blocks of time, typically longer than 60 to 90 minutes. I personally prefer 90 minutes all the way up to 4 hours, depending on the complexity of the problem. The other thing you need is consistency. You don't need huge blocks of time, but you need them to be consistent and regular. For example, 7 days of 1-hour blocks is better than 2 to 3 days of 2-hour blocks. So after establishing that you have the right environment to learn how to code, the very first step is to just start touching some JavaScript code. The lowest friction activity you can do is go to Codecademy and try out their JavaScript module. It's totally free and takes very little time. But because it's very little investment from you, there's also very little reward in terms of learning. The whole point of step 1 is to just get your feet in the water. In Codecademy, once you do the basics, you'll be presented with sizable projects. This is a big jump, and it's also where a lot of people lose motivation and fall off. It's pretty demoralizing when you're given just the basics, and the next thing you know, you're thrown into the deep end of a project, and you don't really know how to solve problems yet. At this point, I wouldn't jump into that project work. This is what I would do next. So step 2 is about establishing the correct mental models. Programming is a new way of thinking. When you're learning your very first language, you're actually tackling 2 different problems at once. One is that you're trying to understand the programming constructs, and second is that you're learning the specific language. This is what makes learning to code feel very overwhelming at first. What people don't realize is that when you're learning to code, you're actually developing a vast expanse of new mental models for organizing information. You have to learn to see the way that the computer is programmed to function. A perfect example of what I mean by mental model is like variables. If you've ever done an introductory lesson on any language, you'll inevitably have come across variables. They basically behave like names for physical buildings. You can change the name, but the name references the same building. That's an example of a mental model. So you have to have mental models for these different ways of organizing information. And specifically in JavaScript, the first 5 chapters of Eloquent JavaScript is a great free resource for this. Each chapter includes practice problems that accompany the reading, and each problem is targeted at solidifying your understanding of these fundamental programming principles. Be warned though, those practice problems are not easy. This is on purpose though. You have to think deeply in order to understand deeply. I said the steps are simple, but they aren't necessarily easy. So step 3 is to work on larger scale problems. This is unfortunately easy to skip because projects can be more alluring. But if you're learning at your own pace and aren't on a tight timeline to ship projects and boost your resume, this is the smarter way to proceed. With more solid footing in the language's fundamentals, the easier your project work will become. A useful exercise here would be to re-implement some library functions. For example, 8 problems that will get you really thinking about the JavaScript language would be to re-implement array methods like map, filter, sum, every, find, and find index. You can also do Lodash methods once and memoize. Those are really good for teaching you fundamental concepts about programming in JavaScript. This is worth the time investment before getting caught up in project work. If you can confidently work through these problems, your understanding of the JavaScript language would be at a whole new level. You'll also learn key programming concepts like higher order functions and closure that will serve you for the rest of your programming career. It's worth the time investment to go deep in the fundamentals before getting caught up in implementing projects. So step 4 is going to be to work on projects to expand your breadth of knowledge. From here, you want to work your way up to a project. Codecademy would be a good resource for ideas. JavaScript 30, a free course by Wes Boss, would also be good. You just need inspiration for ideas and a basic starting point. There's plenty of those on the internet. So when you do projects, you're going to learn a lot of different things that aren't strictly JavaScript related, like how the web browser works, HTML, and how to put elements on a page. You're going to learn about CSS and how to style those elements. And then you're going to learn about the DOM, how JavaScript interacts with elements on a page. These are the fundamentals of web development. And with every project, it's a rinse and repeat of practice. Your understanding of each topic is going to get clearer and more well-defined over time. The key point here is to invest time and energy to actually overcome your obstacles. This is where a lot of beginners make the mistake of not understanding things deeply enough. When you get stuck, you want to sit with the problem for a few days if you have to. Don't resort to taking shortcuts. Remember, the point of your projects is to learn. Don't do anything for the sake of boosting your resume or to have another project under the belt. Those things are the byproduct of you having learned, and they are not the end goal in and of themselves. And this one is a bonus step. Bonus step 5, get feedback on your project work. This typically requires having a friend that is more experienced than you or being a student of some paid program. But it could be a worthy investment. It's basically a guaranteed way for you to improve more quickly, because someone more experienced than you will be able to uncover holes in your thinking, give you new ideas to try, and generally speed up your progress. If you have some spare money, then education is usually one of the best investments you can make. Okay, so that was the 4 steps for getting started with JavaScript. What I've discovered along the journey of coding myself and teaching many others how to code is that things that surround your learning ability is actually a big indicator of success, like the right mindset, the right mental shifts for interpreting certain information, frameworks for solving problems that you don't know how to solve, and learning to learn. These are the things that pay big dividends over time. I have a newsletter precisely on these topics for people that want to break into industry as software engineers. You can find out more with the link in the description below. Okay, thanks for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.